Our next speaker, before I dig too big a hole, is Lorraine Murphy, who's going to talk more about digital revolution, lessons from the homeless. Lorraine.
Thank you. I'm Lorraine Murphy. I have old school notes and new school notes. These are for you, because I've seen all those websites. But I'll tell you what I do. I run classes on social media, and I've done so since, well, I guess for 5.5 years now. Since before it was called social media, really. It was called blogging back then. But the way I run my classes is they're open to the public. They're not cheap, because I'm good. And I'll get that. Thanks. A quarter of the spaces in my classes are reserved for people who are referred to me by agencies on the downtown east side of Vancouver who attend for free. So that's sort of my give back to the community. If I were clever, I could probably get a tax write-off for it, but I keep my classes small. I figure, if there's 10 people, 2 more is not going to really matter. And I've had some very interesting experiences doing this, because with only one exception in all of that time, all of my prodigies in social media have come from the most marginalized groups, people who were literally homeless when they were taking my courses. And these people have blown my mind. So I realize now, it's not just that I'm being altruistic. I was actually building some wisdom all of this time, learning from the people who are naturals at this. To say that they're naturals is oversimplifying it. Let me explain how I got into this field very briefly, and then that will give you more insight on why these people are good at doing digital media. I had a chronic illness which was undiagnosed, and there's nothing like being in limbo for 2 years, because I could not work. I didn't have any money, because when you don't work, you don't have a lot of money. And I was self-employed, so I wasn't on like some disability leave or something. And when you're isolated by that, you don't have money to go for coffee, you don't have the fitness to go, you don't have a car because you can't go visit your friends. You don't lose the urge to socialize. And so I got online. Oops, hang on.
We're looking for your wireless.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a new computer. I'm like, I have to turn the wireless on. Why would the wireless ever be off? But when you're isolated like that, you don't lose your urge to socialize. So I got online and I socialized there. And let me just say, I was in a very dark space. I was going very emo, and the world is full of evil people, and they all hate me. And within 6 weeks, the internet slapped me and said, "Don't be stupid. The world is full of really nice people who want to help you." And I had lots of good experiences. And over time, I found out that MIT puts all of their psych tests online, so you can take them for free. I love this. So I took one about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And I was poor. I was having difficulties keeping a roof over my head and so on. But after going through the test, I realized I was much more self-actualized than I should have been. And that all of the rewards, the leadership, the community, valuing, all of that stuff had come through my engagement online. And it had been free. I mean, you can go to the library and engage, get on a forum. You can start a forum for free. And I mean, the guy who started Rotten Tomatoes didn't invest $1 million to do it. And now he has one of the most important sites in the entertainment world. So I realized that if it could do that for me, I could do that for other people. So that's how I got into this. I've worked with people coming out of rehab, finding them support systems online, because when you come out of rehab, you have no support systems. It's like, okay, go, good luck. We'll see you again, probably. But if people have supports, which are available for free online, then they are less likely to fall back into bad habits. You have to find a new social group that supports your new habits. And so one of the things I do is hooking people up with that sort of thing. So that's sort of the background on how I got into this and how it's sort of self-interested and altruistic at the same time. let me talk a bit about a couple of my prodigies. I'm going to have to move this around there because I don't project well. Oh my God. Internet Explorer. How did that get on my desktop? Oh. Okay. Okay, let's go to... No, let's go to... Sorry? Okay. Oops. I wonder how much of my brain is taken up by memorizing URLs. This fellow was in one of my first classes, and the lesson I learned from him is you don't have to drink the Kool-Aid to get the most out of this. He has been living in shelters for the last 15 years, sometimes living on the street, but mostly in the Salvation Army shelter, which he gets shelter in exchange for doing janitorial and security duties. He took my course because he was pressured into it by other people. And he's the most amazing writer you've ever met. His nom de plume is Henry Doyle. Wasteland Journals is his book that he's working on. And wastelandjournalschapters.wordpress.com, which is a horrible URL, is his blog. I got him to post a poem. The very first day we got this thing up, he posted the poem, and then he turned around and argued with me for 5 minutes about how nobody was going to read this. It went out into the void. He was unimportant. How is the universe ever going to notice him? And I looked over his shoulder and I saw on his dashboard that he had 2 comments already. So I said, well, click on it and take a look. And one was from Germany and one was from Australia. And they both basically said, I had no idea Vancouver had something like this. I always describe him as he's like Bukowski, if Bukowski had been a nice guy. Henry Doyle used his blog, which has, I think, only 3 entries in it, as a portfolio to get a full scholarship to creative writing program at SFU. After 15 years in shelters. And I mean, the man is in his 50s. He's not a young man, but with just a little bit online, he got some feedback right away, which psyched him. So it was easier for him to believe he was good enough to apply, which asking is a barrier. He had the support from the community, these total strangers, that said, you can do this. And he's not, as you can see, he hasn't drunk the Kool-Aid. He really doesn't blog. But he got what he needed out of it. And then he's out of it. If he needs something else from it, he'll probably go back in. But he doesn't need it. And I've drunk the Kool-Aid, so that was a good lesson for me. You don't need to blog daily. I'll show you another of my prodigies. I'm taking credit for everything they do, because it was all me. You may have seen ahamedia.ca or may have heard of it, or you may have heard of April Smith, who's the person who runs Aha Media. Aha is April, Hendrik, and Al. April was in a project I was a social media trainer for. It was called Fearless City. Was back, how much time do I have? Okay, was about 3 years ago now. She was homeless. In fact, at one point last year, she became homeless twice in the same day. Through no fault of her own. It was the Olympics evictions. Hey, I got a room at this new place. Yay, my life is solved. What do you mean I am evicted? She was only there for 2 hours. But Fearless City taught people on the downtown east side to use mobile devices. In her case, she picked up on the video. And you can use them for all kinds of things, and everybody here's using them. But she really picked up on the video. So she will come to conferences like this in video on her cell phones. It's really low barrier to entry. She just comes in, hangs around, zooms in. She's got a great camera because Nokia realized she's a star and started giving her stuff. She now employs several people to do the same thing, charges, I think it's $50 an hour, which is extremely reasonable. And she's been taking editing courses and so on. The You can change your life with this stuff. She has drunk the Kool-Aid. She is the Kool-Aid. She has more Facebook friends and Twitter followers and so on than I will ever have. But the thing with April is if she needs help, she will go on social media and just ask for it. And getting past that, well, I have to present a perfect facade and all my life is always perfect, is a huge thing. And my life is not perfect. And the other day I needed something pretty crazy, and I got it. Within 45 minutes, I complained on Twitter. Damn it, I need to get in touch with Julian Assange. And now I have his personal solicitor's personal cell phone number. Someone just emailed it to me. Somebody I don't even know. But you can get amazing things. But it becomes about, the social economy is very strong on the downtown east side because they don't have money, so they have to do something else. So giving credit away, giving power away, is a source of power. The more power you give away, the more powerful you are perceived as being. That's why I always tell people, say thank you in public. Say you screwed up in private. I try to stick to that, but I don't always. But we saw this. We did a tweet up, heat up yesterday. A tweet up, heat up is when you just call a tweet up on the street and say, bring clothes for the homeless, bring blankets, bring mittens. And we were there in Pigeon Park with a whole pile of clothes and stuff, and nobody was coming. And then one guy came over and asked us what we were doing, and then he went off. And the next thing we know, 20 people are there because he's a trusted source. He went up to them and he said, this is what's happening. You should go there and get some free clothes. The same thing happens with mobile devices. The homeless actually pick up on Twitter. They resist it because it's perceived as extremely middle class. But once they get on it, they use it in incredibly creative ways. And that's another thing that we learned at the Tweet Up Heat Up, reinforced at the Tweet Up Heat Up, is once you give something away, it's not yours anymore. You have to let go because they will do whatever they want with it and they will fill whatever their needs are. You may perceive their need as he needs a blanket, but maybe what he really needs is $2 because he's $2 short on his hotel for that day. And he'll go sell that blanket for $5 and then he'll have the $2 and 3 more. And you have to let go of the expectation that people are going to use the things you give them in the way that you perceive. Like, let's go back to Twitter. Twitter didn't have @replies at the beginning. It was the users who said, let's do this. And Twitter almost disabled it. And then one of them came to their senses and said, well, if our users are improving this, why wouldn't we let them? They're doing our R&D for us. So I better wrap it up. But I have so much more to talk about. But you can get me coffee and I'll tell you all about it. Anyway, so to sum up, if I can, beginner's mind, part of the reason they're prodigies is they don't have the preconceptions of the limitations, the social economy, and mobile is the future because they can afford a cell phone. This is why ebook readers bug me. It's going to cost you $200 to read books in the first place. That's going to put a barrier there. Anyways, thank you.